Mr. Caleb Nelson. So I wrote down like 5 things that you kind of spoken about, which I think is really important for that sales and marketing journey, which is where we kind of started. So I've got here, one was certainty, and actually what you're delivering. And then the other side of certainty, which you spoke about, was actually almost communicating that certainty to them, which was really powerful. The other one was communication. That's so vital, and by the sounds of things, one of the leading reasons on why you're so successful. Other one's connection, being able to connect with someone on a deeper level, and it's not just that quick sale and that, trying to just speed people through that process. You mentioned content, and ultimately just sharing, that journey, sharing that story for people at all stages of their journey. And then the last one that you spoke about was community, and developing, by the sounds of things, a very powerful community, because that just develops and builds such big raving fans of your business. And like you say, you're going from like 0 to then 2 gyms at close to 400 people per gym. That's an amazing feat.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was way more at Albany than Clifton Park, because we were about a year in when he and I had a fallout. Thankfully, here we are, what are we, 8 years now, 9 years removed from that moment, and we have rebuilt our friendship, which that's a whole other powerful story in my life. But yeah, man, we did some wild stuff, and we also got exposed, which I give him a lot of credit to. He ended up being my first financial advisor as well, and it was my friends as well. We got exposed to a lot of leadership stuff earlier on. We'll call it life coachy things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we got into Simon Sinek with the whole Start With Why and all of that right when he came on the scene too. I mean, this is just like, you couldn't have built a better incubator at the right time. It was just like unreal timing in the universe. And yeah, I mean, those were wild times. It was crazy. The amount of like work and long hours we did, like at a time in my 20s, like that was a pretty powerful experience to have that, where a lot of other friends that I had at the time, like they were kind of just
very different. Yeah, I think when I look at that in relation to like my journey, because I'd done my level 1 for CrossFit in 2012. So that was still like pretty early on. And then I was very fortunate. I spent a long time coaching CrossFit full time in a few different gyms, mainly in Dubai. And you mentioned about like life coaching and then that personal development and how that almost started to come into play and was a bit of a process for you. I'm just reflecting on my own journey. It was like, actually, when I was coaching, yes, you're there to demonstrate movements and go through the physical transformation, but so much more of it was, let's say, life coaching, but that mental and spiritual side, where someone's coming in, you can tell they've had a bad day. You can tell something's not right. They haven't slept, that they haven't eaten. And then it changes your coaching. It changes that connection, that relationship, and how you approach that person in that day. And it's not spoken about probably even enough, even at this stage of, yes, CrossFit and physical training is important, but also the power of that in relation to the mental side and the reliance for some people on that. And what was, so for you, you've gone through this transition of coaching on the gym floor, and then let's say being exposed to the personal development, and let's say the mental side behind that journey. What's that path looked like for you? What happened after? It sounds like, yes, there was some incidents at the gym, but what happened after that?
So we'll go into the emotional stuff now. What was I? Late 20s. My dad almost died. Okay. He had some complications from cancer treatment. So he had like this stroke-like event. Mind you, we were also at a rough point, like in the gym in a couple ways. And I'd been dating my now wife for a little bit. And I remember going down to the hospital because he lives downstate. And I'm sitting there in the hospital room. And all of a sudden, like, there's like a lot of hustle and bustle, like things. I'm just like, he wasn't eating or whatever. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, I just like took control of the room. Everybody quieted down. I took this like shitty hospital gruel and I started to feed him. And the first thing that hit me was when he looked at me, and I was like, this, number one, this is not my father. Like, this is not the man that like raised me and guided me and all this. Thought number two was, this is a reflection of me. I'm dead on the inside. And that was the first time in my life I was like, whoa, this is the man in the mirror moment. And I didn't fully process, because I mean, all the other hoopla and emotion and stuff like that at the time. But as I kind of settled back from it and got a little breathing room from that moment, and he started to get a little healthier and the dust started to clear, I started to look inward and I like, well, why did I feel this way? Because at that moment in my life, while I felt like I over delivered on some things, I was deeply afraid to like really go there when it came to the questions that really need to be asked of people. I knew that there was other stuff, relational, business, so stuff that was going on in people's life, but I was too afraid to sit in that space. And unconsciously, I think I knew like it's really my own insecurities right now that's holding me back from making that difference. And I felt inherently like I was wasting these gifts that I had.
Wow.
I had achieved some level of success. I've put the title on my name. I've had business owner. I've dated the beautiful women. I've had the 6-pack abs, and I've been best athlete in very small pond and all these other things. But I was like never happy. I was never fulfilled. I would have glimpses of it, but it was super short-lived and massively externally driven. So this moment became my own first, like, I'm a firm believer, like, I'm not going to ask somebody else to do something I'm not willing to do first. So that's when I started confronting my own stuff. And I went to some counseling, I hired some coaches. We had I've spent probably a little over 200 grand on coaching in some way, shape, or form.
Stacks up quick, doesn't it?
Well, you know what though? It does stack up quick for anybody who's like, oh my God, it's a lot of money. How'd you do that? One, had a business to fund a lot of stuff and like collaborated with people, but like all these investments taught me a lot about like how other people see the world, and also taught me a lot about how I'm viewing the world. And I don't look at them as different. Like, this is a skill set in this venue, but what's the overarching concept that I could take away from that? And what it really became was like, I'm learning about my life. And the more I did that, the more I would sit. We changed our model of the business. We had this massive space that we had built into after I separated from my first business partner, Ian, who know, everybody calls dad over at Empowered CEO, like best friends. He'd guided me through some dark times. And we went on this journey, man. And we were just slowly focusing more on a deeper personal level, personal interaction, personal engagement. And we used to joke, like it would just be, I would be having a day and I was like, I see that person, I'm going to pull them off to the side. We're going to go talk for 3 hours in the office, and we're just going to solve life's problems. We joke and we call them Leberventions because Caleb, Leb, it's kind of a thing there. Where that's led me now, it's like what I started to realize that it's not a weight loss or weight gain problem. It's not a business or a sales problem. It's a relationship problem. It's every single time, because we catered to a lot of high-end clients. We were the most expensive space in the area. Yes, they had external stressors or like symptoms of misalignment. I put on weight. Well, why did they put on weight? Because I'm stressed at work. Well, why are you stressed at work? You're not in alignment. Why are you not in alignment? Well, they're having maybe disagreements with their wife. Well, why are they having disagreements with their wife or their husband or whomever? Well, they're not okay with themselves. And if they're not okay with themselves, what I've learned is like, you don't communicate the truth in a way that is digestible and consumable and amicable with those that you are sharing your life with, whether it's your spouse or a business partner or your staff or your clients or your kids or anybody else. So it took a long time for me to like openly say like, hey, by the way, this is the real thing. We need to start with the root of this thing. And if you solve the problem of the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror, however you want to define it, the external representation of that is going to change. In improved sales or flexibility in your life, more time freedom, higher value services, whatever, more confidence in selling or delivering your service or product. You're going to have more time to then give yourself self-care and give you permission to work on yourself and improve in vast areas and educate yourself and whatever. But also you're going to feel more connected to your loved ones. And what I said before is like, I always felt like I inherently could connect with that loneliness in people. Mm-hmm. Well, if you feel lonely by yourself, adding another person to that is just like a crutch. You have to have them now in your life to do that, as opposed to arriving whole, complete, fulfilled, inspired, and another person who's whole, complete, fulfilled, inspired, sharing that space together. You create beautiful things, whether it's a family, a business, or just an experience on a vacation or whatever it is. So very long-winded way of getting back to like, that's where the life coaching, personal development thing started there.